In regards to this Trump raid, I care more about the process and what's happening with the process than I do Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or any one of these people. This process is bunk and it's taking down the country. It's what I saw today is very shocking. This is unprecedented, never happened before. What we're seeing here. And it's so bad. I wouldn't even expect Venezuela to have this level of it could be legal. I don't know how it's legal, but it's corruption, whether it's legal corruption, illegal corruption. I don't know if it's constitutional, but I'm talking about the executive powers and what cleared the room, cleared the way for the Trump raid. Obviously, it was the Biden White House. No surprise there. First day we found out, we knew somehow the Biden White House was involved. It was impossible for the former president, soon to be potentially candidate for president again, to be raided, and the White House is not involved at all. We knew that. I'm going to play this video here, and so hopefully they do a good job explaining
Editor
it.
And
then I'll
CEO
go
of Just the News.
Then I'll go in more detail as well here.
By what you just broke on Just the News, obviously, I'll read the title again. Biden White House facilitated DOJ's criminal probe against Trump's scuttled privilege claims. Explain it to me, John, like I'm a 4-year-old, which is not that far off, so I can try to understand what I'm reading here.
I talk your language. It's going to be good. I am the same way. Listen, it's real simple. The Biden White House worked with the permanent bureaucracy to facilitate, instigate, and start the criminal probe of Donald Trump for mishandling these documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago.
That's not simple enough. That's not simple enough. I'm going to stop and I'll come back to this video. That's not the simple explanation as a 4-year-old that I would do. Here's the simple information on what happened here. I'm going to give you my breakdown here. First, I'm going to get to Kyle Cheney, who his energy reminds me of Sam Harris. But here's the quick breakdown. It's very simple. The National Archives went to the president and said, we want to get these documents from your bruh, the former president. The Joe Biden White House left. So Donald Trump was going to say, hey, I've got protective executive privilege on these documents. There is a librarian by the name of Deborah Wall. The Biden White House left the decision. I don't know why the Biden White House has this decision, but forget about that. The Biden White House deferred to an acting archivist with the National Archives. That's just a fancy term for a librarian. That's all it is. And in the letter that she wrote, it says, the counsel to the president has informed me, in light of the particular circumstances presented here, President Biden defers to my determination. She's an acting librarian. President Biden defers to my determination in consultation with the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel regarding whether or not I should uphold the former president's, Donald Trump's, purported protective assertion of executive privilege. He left up he left that decision. So if Joe Biden didn't say you could lift his privilege, none of this would have happened. No raid, none of this. The DOJ wouldn't have been able to go anywhere with it. So who ordered the code red? In this case, the most powerful, representative in our country left it up to a librarian. I'm speechless right now. And forget about, I don't know how it's legal. I just don't know how. If the powers of executive privilege stay with the office, so I understand that. But if Donald Trump was in office and said, I'm asserting executive privilege on something that already happened, the dangerous precedent is you're letting the next president take away retroactively the executive privilege of the last president. I got to throw this out to people. I don't know if we're going to have a midterm. I don't know what's going to happen because this is not long-term thinking. If another president comes in, these are the new rules if this is allowed. And it's just going to be wreck shop, destroying everything. So basically that's what happened. To start this whole thing, the National Archives went to the White House because they needed permission. The White House said they didn't even have the balls to make their own decision. They said, I'm going to leave it up to you. That's what happened. Stunning. I wouldn't even expect like Venezuela to do it. I really wouldn't. I think they would probably look at themselves as lesser than if they had made that same decision, leaving it up to just a random person, a librarian, to make that call. It would make the current president look weak and vulnerable. That's how bad it is.
How did they do that? The White House said, hey, you know those things that Donald Trump just sent over back to the National Archives? Go ahead and send them to the FBI. And then when the FBI began ramping up its investigation, the FBI told the National Archives, go ahead and waive President Trump's executive privilege. Keep in mind, it was President Trump's executive privilege covering these documents, but Joe Biden waived it. Said, Archives, if you want to waive it and give it to the FBI,
He didn't even have the balls to waive it himself. He said, I'm going to leave the decision up to you. For me, even if I'm a corrupt person like allegedly Joe Biden is, I'm not going to have it in the legacy that I'm leaving it up to somebody else. It's probably a legal thing there, but I just can't do that. What a legacy to leave. There's no debate, no discussion. Joe Biden is the worst president that we've ever seen. We have never seen things like what we're seeing now under him. We have never seen them in the history of our country. That is one of the most cowardice moves that has ever happened from the executive office. Period. Ever. Knowing that starts the snowball so you can't say at that moment he knew that there would be a raid, but he knew that would be a possibility. Allegedly. And he didn't even make the call. He didn't even make the code red.
You go ahead and do that. That undercut the Trump legal defense team's ability to develop a defense or contest these documents or prevent them from going to the FBI. And it allowed the sitting incumbent of the White House who beat Donald Trump in 2020 and expects to face him in 2024 to launch a criminal investigation.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say, my nickel?
Beat Donald Trump in 2020 and expects to face him in...
He did what? What was that? John Solomon?
To prevent them from going to the FBI. And it allowed the sitting incumbent of the White House who beat Donald Trump in 2020 and expects to face him in 2024.
That don't even sound right, bro. It was fortified. I'm not questioning it. I'm not questioning anything. It sounds funny. I think you should use the word fortified. I think that would make it sound better.
FBI, and it allowed the sitting incumbent of the White House who beat Donald Trump in 2020 and expects to face him in 2024 to launch a criminal investigation against his chief political rival, the opposition party leader, and to take away.
You see what's happening? So 2020 happened. It was fortified. And then now he can run again. So they're going after him based on a request from the National Archives to run up in the crib. And he left the decision up to the librarian. I don't know what the legal stuff is. I'm gonna have to look at Robert. That's my dude, is Robert Barnes, to see that can't be legal. If it is legal, then cancel Christmas, because this whole thing is. I've been listening to Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon in the War Room is going nuts. He is going full blown when Even if it's just the House, if MAGA takes over enough power in the House, they are going full blown. You want to talk about ultra MAGA? If there's a midterm and they take over the House, Steve Bannon is laying the groundwork to put pressure on the politicians. Obviously, he's not one, to do everything that you see right now back at the corporate party, which I am not for. But that's what they're setting up to do. Or more, or worse. That's why I don't know if there's going to be a midterms, because everything that they do can be done against them. Now, obviously, it won't happen at president level at this moment, but that may be why you saw Fauci be out. He's like, I'm out. This is going to get ugly. But Rand Paul is going to be like, come here. You're going to come on back over here for hearings.
His best defense that maybe these documents should be reviewed by a court first because of privilege. It's not any more complicated than that. The Biden White House, sick the FBI on their rival.
It's not looking good. This is a dangerous precedent. Kyle Cheney, in my opinion, is a liar and has the same energy of Sam Harris. After everything I just went over here, Kyle Cheney says Trump allies pointed to this letter, and what I'm talking about is that part where I read that Trump deferred to this archivist. So he's saying that Trump allies pointed to this letter as some kind of evidence the Biden White House meddling. What it shows is officials expressing extreme alarm about the national security damage based on records being held by Trump. It did show that because they had to trump up something, no pun intended, to make it big. They knew where this was going to go. They had to trump it up. But he said Trump allies pointed to this letter as some kind of evidence of Biden White House meddling. That's true. So then he deflects from that because he never says that's not true. He just said Trump allies pointed to this letter as some kind of evidence of Biden White House meddling and didn't say anything else after that. Yeah, they are because it is. So it's the same energy as Sam Harris clip that's gone viral talking about it doesn't matter, whatever we have to do, destroying democracy, I'm paraphrasing, destroying anything to not allow the populist right to rise up. It wasn't White House meddling. It was they didn't even, I didn't even write this right. They didn't even authorize it. It was Deborah Wall, acting archivist, stating that Joe Biden deferred to her on whether to uphold Trump's executive privilege. That's what happened. I was like, how is this legal? I have no idea how this would be legal. Just from common sense, it can't work that way. Because that means every president could go back and attack the previous president. Now, this is different because this president could run again, so there's an added motivation. So anytime that you're in a situation like this, then you would see this type of, trying to undermine the privilege of the previous president. And it doesn't matter. Even if the president couldn't run again, that president could be influential, like Obama or Trump. They could be like the kingmaker, and you want to take them down. They're literally destroying our country. If you don't believe me, Alan Dershowitz, who is no Trump fan, he said, I was very surprised after reading the text of this archivist Deborah Wall's letter. The current president should not be able to waive the executive privilege of a predecessor without the consent of the former president. Yeah. Otherwise, privilege means nothing. What president will ever discuss anything in private if he knows the man who beat him can and will disclose it? Everything that they say that Trump's doing or MAGA's doing is what they're doing. That is what destroying democracy looks like. Well, it's destroying the fabric and it's breaking the system apart. I don't know what the checks and balances are. That's an executive branch thing. I don't know if it's the Supreme Court or who. And on top of it, this archivist was only there for 9 months before she did this. A groundbreaking, never done before decision ever in the history of our country. She was an acting activist, not even permanent, acting activist for about 9 months, I believe. Or not, was it 9 months or 9 days? Let me look that up real quick. 9 days. Oh my God. Wow. She assumed office May 1st, appointed. May 10th, she wrote the letter. 9 days after an acting librarian took office, she's the one that ordered the code red. In when I say that, mean got the snowball rolling. If she would have said, "No, I'm not waiving any executive privilege unless you are, Biden," so no, none of this would have happened. I don't know, man. I'm out. I don't know.